Hey guys, this will be our last pin craft for Christmas, but maybe I'll do one in July, Christmas in July. So I wanted to make sure I showed you how to do this one. I've been meaning to do it much sooner, but you know, here we are. But I think you'll really enjoy it. I loved these wreaths as you saw the other day. They were so pretty. And I don't know, this little stocking. How cute is he with the, and it's super glittery. This was the quote unquote chaser. That isn't really a chaser because there's two in every box, but yeah, so I might do something with her, but I don't think so. I kept her just in case. I wanted to add her to the mix, but really it's about the wreath and the stocking. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching, and you know, have a Merry Christmas. Hey guys, so here are the pins that we're going to be using today. We're probably not going to use this one, but I got her just in case I wanted to include her in like the montage. But I think this is going to be a pretty cool little craft. All right guys, so I cut this frame out from the Storybook Dies. It's this one here. And I cut out this frame because we're going to need it. We're going to make a fireplace, but we're going to need to shade some things, color some things. So we need to go ahead and I want to do the messiest parts first. So we'll do that first. So we're going to be using Pool Party ink and the blending brush. And I've got these are going to be our shelves, our bookshelves. I just cut out 3 pieces of white. Now they're a little bit textured because they're from the scrap I used from this, and we're going to be coloring this as well. So I think let's do the frame first because I don't know why I'm worried about it, but I am. So I'm going to go ahead and hold it down with a piece of sticky tape or memo note. There's some wrinkles on this edge. So I think I'll make this the top. This is going to be our fireplace frame essentially. And so I'm going to go ahead and just hold it in place with this. And this just gives a little bit of color to the white. And I don't know if you remember in the movie, but the movie, it was white, but there was like this blue hue to it. And so that was maybe a little bit too much blue, but that's okay. But I wanted there to be just a little bit of texture, a little bit of color to it so that it's still white, but has this slight hue to it. I think I did a little too much down here, but okay. So I'm going to hold it up to the camera so you can see. And I take it off. So it definitely colors it. Let me bring the light closer. So it definitely colors it blue. I don't even know if you can tell, but it's just a really faint blue. There's definitely blue that you can see on this part here, but it's very faint. And then we're going to be trimming off some of it. So I think this is okay. All right, I needed that. So we're done with that one. So now we need to do the shelves. So these shelves were just cut out of, I just cut them out of like textured paper. I'm gonna kind of hold, and then we're gonna do the same kind of thing. I'm not very good at this. It's just something that I learn a little bit more every time I use it. And I'm not very good at using, some people hold it like this with the long handle. I'm not very good. I actually find I have more control when I hold it down close. So maybe that's why I get the spots. I don't know. But I just have a hard time holding it up like this because I don't see how that's going to put any ink on it. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does. So, all right, so we've got the basics of our blue all colored. That's all we needed for that. We're going to be using For the Books stamp set, which I believe is retired now. We're just going to be using the one that's stacked, or the books that are on a shelf. And I've gone out and I've already kind of measured what I wanted. So I'm going to use my pencil and just faintly mark where I need to put my my books. We're going to have a bookshelf that can cover up some of the edges, so don't worry too much. Oh, I don't know why I put that paper away. I might need it. But okay, so we're going to do the first. So the next one is going to be at 1 3/4. I'm just going to mark a little dot there. Okay, and the next will be the same at 1 3/4. But it's just a dot to guide. It's not hard and fast, but because that's where the bookshelf is going to cover up some of our sins, so to speak, you know. So, and I know it looks a little off center. It looks little off center when you see it, but trust me, it'll be fine when we get there. And let's get to Stampin'. I'm always better kind of doing it on the winging it than trying to measure it exactly. So we'll go ahead and we'll try it. If you need to measure it, I'm having a hard time because that is way off. So I think I measured that wrong. Okay, I'm using a clear ruler instead because the wooden ruler, while the wooden ruler is awesome, I actually don't mind using it. It just wasn't giving me the straight line I needed. And so, whoops, I moved the ruler. This is a clear ruler. It's actually a centering ruler that I got from my friend Candy. I think that looks straight. Again, we're gonna erase. I'm thinking we can hide a lot of our issues with the books. So I had to start over again because I dropped the stamp, and anyway. Okay, a lot of our errors that will happen when you're doing a project like this, a lot of it's going to be covered up by the other elements that you're going to add. So, and bookshelves are not perfect. I mean, they're straight, but you know what I mean? The books, having the variety of books, I find is not perfect. So let's go ahead and let's shift the book to this one on this side. Yeah. And that way it's just a little different end. Let's see, I want, there we go. And remember, we're going to have that little bookshelf that's going to be able to cover any errors in case this is a little crooked or a little bit off. And I'm just using this so that when I run off the page, oh yeah, see, like there's a little gap there, but that's okay. Don't, you know, books on a bookshelf are not perfect. So don't try to make it as if they are, you know. And so see, and the top row is going to be just enough to fit our books, which is what I wanted. You know, I wanted it, I didn't want there to be cut off books at the top or the bottom. Cutting it off on the side isn't that bad in my opinion, but it's cutting it off on the tops, you know, would have looked a little weird. There we go. All right, so we've got our books. So for the fireplace, we're going to be cutting it. And I'm just going to, let me get better scissors. Okay, for the fireplace, there's a tiny beveled line right along the edge here. You can't see it on the camera, but there's the tiniest beveled line. And that's gonna be like the bottom of the fireplace. Oof, maybe not. Part of me wants it to be, but I think it's not gonna work because that looks like a frame. So let's go ahead and cut it off. There we go. There we go. So this piece is, I don't know, now it's just a few inches, but it's just enough to fit behind your, because we got to have the dark part of the fireplace in the back. And so I cut out a rectangle that was smaller, a little bit smaller than the frame. And don't worry, we're going to be filling in the holes of the frame here, and it'll look nice. So just give me a second. All right, so we're done with that part, and this will go here. All right, so you know what, because I already know, I don't want to glue it down yet just in case, so I'm just going to mark, I'm going to mark this book as the last, as the book I don't need to color. And I think this book I don't need to color. Okay, so that's just marked, and I'm going to go ahead and get my nice eraser and erase these pencil marks. And I was real light-handed, which is hard because I write very hard, like really press down. I break a lot of pencil lead. That's why I bought the 0.9 pencil. I haven't broken any lead with this pencil. I just write very, very hard with pens, with pencils. I just press down very, very hard. And so any errors, like I was telling you, any errors on our bookshelves are more than likely going to be covered by the bookshelf. And the bookshelf's going to be 3D. So any kind of errors in it being straight or whatever are going to be covered by this. So yeah, so I had a plan. And I'm just using my regular markers. I could use my alcohol markers, but I guess I didn't feel like it. So I'm just going to use my straight markers. And let's color this one Bubble Bath. And we'll color this one Bubble Bath. I don't want it to be a pattern that's too defined, because to me, a book, you know, a library wouldn't have books that are really super defined. Let's go ahead and make this one pink. No, we're good. Behind the frame, we're going to take some scrap pieces of gold. I saved it because, you know, the gold foil paper is really expensive. So I saved some of it, and I'm going to fill in some of this. I'm going to fill in some of this. What's the word? I'm going to fill in the little pieces here, fill it in. All right, but yeah, I have quite a few scraps. So we'll go ahead and we'll measure out some pieces. I think this one might be a good one. It's not measuring that one, so we might have to, for these, we might have to just scrap a little bigger. All right, I'm gonna glue that. So you see it's gonna add like a gold filigree kind of aspect to it. So we're just gonna take some glue dots and pop that on there. It doesn't have to be extensive glue dots, just enough to keep it in place. And I think that'll cover all of it. There we go. All right, sorry, I'm trying to stay in frame. Oh, I think I just cut the piece I needed to stay. No, it's all right. Okay. And let's see if this one works. And we can just put a little piece there. All right, I'm gonna, before I trim it, I'm gonna put a piece of glue dot down and then I'll trim, because I almost think this other piece on the other side might be too small. It's like coming up. Let's see, let's put this there. And let's put, oh, that'll work. That's like perfect. Put another glue dot down there. Using glue dots is just a little bit easier when you're using the foil pieces, because glue on the foil pieces, like when you put the glue on the foil pieces, that's it, it's done forever. And if you can avoid that, it just helps. Oh, I was gonna put this piece here and then trim it. There we go. And I'm gonna put a glue dot here. All right. And we'll put one down there. It's like a little Frankenstein on the back here. Hopefully I can get this edited in time. I'd like to share it later today. Be careful because there's this, darn, I trimmed it too far. I trimmed it too far. Okay. Do I have another scrap? And it leaves a line if I don't use it. Let me grab another scrap. And these scraps are just what I've been using from, there we go, that's a good scrap, from my other projects. So like I made, I don't know if you guys saw the key project I did. I made some keys. And so let's see if this is wide enough. I don't think it's wide enough. It's not wide enough. Okay, so, oh, this one might be. Is this one? Yeah, this is wide enough. I didn't see that. All right, let me, that's why you kind of keep some of these pieces of gold foil. Now these tiny, tiny little slivers, I'm not gonna keep. But some of these larger pieces can definitely fill in as filigree for detailed dies like this. So let's see if this will work. Okay. So now you can see how the gold, it just adds like a little bit of shine, and yet it looks like, it just looks different. So just adds that little bit of texture. So that's why, you know that when people charge a lot for some of these custom made things, we don't even realize how much work sometimes, goes into making something. I think about the cork board, which I'm going to share with you guys in another video. I got a new cork board, but the level of detail that has to go into making that is a lot. Let's see about the ornaments. Oh yeah, I was going to say the stocking is like a little too low. So you know what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to pop it up a little bit higher. I think we'll put like a little piece of something on the bottom here. Like, you know how you kind of have like the spot where it's almost like a step, on a mantle. This is the mantle, but there's the step here. So maybe I will get something that will go right here. So I used this brick embossing folder and just colored a piece of white cardstock, and you can see the texture there, but we're gonna color it. And again, we're gonna just lightly shade this because I think it would have had brick, but white brick, because everything was like so. There we go. And this just gives like the tiniest hint of color. So it's white brick or marbly brick, I don't know, but we're just shading the tiniest bit of blue on this so it matches the fireplace. And I know this piece is way too big for what we need it for, but it's better to have more and to color it all at once than to try and do another piece later. So we'll go ahead and shade this whole thing and then decide. All right, perfect. And now, as I hold it up, I don't know if you can see, there's just the tiniest bit of shading. We need to see how wide we need it. So we need it to be, we have to have room for our wreath at the top. So let's have it. This is not going to stay here, but so I guess we need maybe 2 rows of bricks by, I think, to right here. So I'll cut it a little bit bigger and then cut it down. Okay, that's good. So we're going to glue this down in the back. This is going to be popped up a little bit. And I think chip will hang nicely from that. So otherwise it was like it was touching the ground, and I think that was too much. So I think this will be good. Yeah. And so we'll go ahead and we'll put some dimensionals on the back of this, and then we'll place the black. And then, yeah, so we'll put dimensionals on the back of this piece here, and we'll go from there. And the black piece is just going to go right on the edge. This piece is from some retired paper. It's from a few years ago, and it had all these street signs, but it has all this coal looking dark oil stains, I think is what it was supposed to be, like an oil stained pavement or something. And this will cover up the bottom of this so that it looks more even. I'm gonna put, I love a glue dot. Okay, where's my, there they are. All right, so I'm gonna put a glue dot here. It's just that the liquid glue, while is great, sometimes it's not as strong, but also it's like it's so permanent that you can't even adjust it sometimes. Like it's good that you have time to adjust it before it dries, but sometimes it'll mess up your paper before, oh no, oh no, oh no. I forgot I had pulled all those stickies off. Okay. And I want to get this even right there. Yeah, I don't think I wanted it to be 2 layers. I think I'm going to make it 2 layers. I just want it a little deeper to have like a little more depth. Okay, so we'll put 2 layers of the glue dots on the top there. Or the good news is that now I can just cut these long pieces and there we go. Okay, there we go. I think that'll be better. And it just builds up a little bit of depth, just a little bit of depth. There we go. And remember, I'm gonna also have to put some like logs and flames in here. So that's another aspect that we can't see. And so we're gonna have to put some strips on this. This one, right there. Okay. And so what's going to happen is we're going to wind up gluing this down. And I think that will be enough, yeah. It's just looking funny right now. Okay. Yeah, okay, we're gonna glue it. Go ahead and put some glue on the back of this. Just a little, because this will hold it down a lot there too. Okay. And let's center that. Yeah, there we go. Now see, the white glue is more forgiving. It started to slide a little, but the dimensionals are a little less forgiving. I really hope that's even. Okay, I had an issue where something wasn't even, and now I'm like extra concerned and paranoid about it because I don't want to sell something that people aren't happy with. Okay, so we can go ahead and we can put some dimensionals on the back of this. And that'll give us one part of our bookshelf. And then we'll get some more. There we go. And then we've got our other bookshelf over here. And the same. Okay, and so this should be perfectly even across the top here. Oh, it's crooked. Oh, shoot. No. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Oh, no, no. Oh. Please get it even. It's still crooked. It's because the books are crooked. Please, please let me take it up without ripping. The books are crooked. So, oh no. Okay. If I keep ripping it, it's going to keep tearing my books, which is not what I want. And I'm a little afraid. What I can do is okay. It's tearing the books, but you know what I can do to fix it is I am going to stamp the books across the bottom of this, and we'll color them. And we'll get it straight. Okay. I'm going to cut it a little more than I need to because I'd rather have enough room than not enough room. Because basically what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to fix it, but we're going to adjust the height, and that actually might cover up that black mark down there too, because you see I've got that black mark. It might get close to covering up that black mark. Anyway, we've got to adjust it regardless. So let's just color it the same way we had it before. So I cut a second piece, you saw, and then I stamped it again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it on top here, and you're not going to be able to see it because when we put our layers, it's going to look good. Hold on. Let me go ahead and glue this down. That way that fixed the ripping, but I don't have to start the project all over again, which is what I was afraid we were going to do. And I can already see that this left one is a little bit funny, but I'm going to fix that. So there we go. All right, so, okay, this was a scrap piece. So I did not cut it. You notice how I've cut it a little bit bigger than the previous bookshelf, but I'm okay with that because we're covering up this seam. We're gonna cover it up with the shelf we made, and I've actually got a better idea than just, the shelves. The shelves were looking kind of plain. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put dimensionals on the back of that. And I'm just going to cut across some of these, and we're going to do it this way. All right. Because we need it small. We need it smaller. We really need it narrow. These little pieces are so. All right. Let's go ahead and put our piece on. In my mind, this was going to be a much easier project, and I made it way more complicated. That's why that simple wreath project I made, man, that one was so good because, you know, anyone can do it. They don't need any tools, you know what I mean? Just a frame and a little pretty piece of paper. And I think that's pretty neat. And let's go ahead and put this here. There we go. So we've got our glue across. And I have an idea to cover up even this shelf. I found some ribbon, and we're gonna do some neat. Okay. So let's go ahead and get this straight. And so that covers up all the error, but also helps us make this straight. Yeah, because before it was like noticeably crooked. We might raise it even a little higher. And I found this ribbon, and I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually glue it to the edge here. I might actually wrap it around the back so that it stays nice and clean on the edge. Let's see if it'll wrap. Yeah, it'll wrap. Okay, cool. So I'm going to get my fabric scissors. So I'm going to take my tear and tape, and this just adds that dimension that sometimes projects need. And I'm just going to add a little bit of tear and tape right across the top. And I'm going to tear it off. We're going to put our ribbon across the top. And it's almost as wide. It's a little wider than the shelf, but the ribbon is a little bit wider too. So there we go. Yeah, that looks nice. And then we'll secure it around the back with some tape. My handy dandy tape trick that I always use. All right, and we don't want to pull too hard on it because we don't want it to collapse the shelf, but we do want it secured. Yeah. And so, and the problem, if you put it right to the edge, what'll happen is the edge of the ribbon will fray in your frame, and you don't want that. Oh, look how rich that looks. That elevates it to another level. I think these two are crooked. Let's get the ruler. Yeah, this one's a little bit too low. Or that is a little too high, one or the other. Okay, we're going to be very gentle so we don't rip the books like we did on the other one. Oh, dang. That's what the perfectionist gets, you know. Oh, good. It's going to cover it. It's okay. It's going to cover it. So it will cover that piece that I just ripped. I just had to bring the books down. It was a little too high. It needed to be a little bit lower. And I think the ribbon is going to cover everything. So I think we're going to be okay. I didn't even need that many, but the bookshelves were definitely off on the side. Okay, so now before we place it, let me go ahead and like put it in place. Make sure it's even. And the good thing is this little mantle will hide any edging. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. Put the tear and tape right across the top here. And it over here. And then we're going to... And I think that covered that little smudge. Remember the smudge I was trying to figure out what to do? I think we covered it with that shelf. Okay. All right. It's a little off, but let's see if we can correct it. I should have put it on before I put the shelf in, but too late now. All right, let's see if we can slide this under. There we go. See how that gives it like a much richer like texture by having that across the shelves instead of just the plain white? Or it wasn't plain white, I had shaded it, but still. Okay, now what I wanted to do is I wanted to put a little bit of a fire in here. So we're just gonna take a little bit of scrap. For our flames, we're just literally going to cut the flame shape. You know how the flames have like a shape? Yeah, because you know, and we'll just layer them in there. And I want like a little, I want the ones that are sharp. Yeah, I think that will be enough of a fire. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I think that will be enough of a fire. And see, we can tuck it right in there. Right. I think I'm gonna put one more piece of like red. Oh, perfect, this piece right here. This piece is already like cut to a point. And let's like tuck this over to the side, over there. And then we don't even need logs. It just sits down in there. Yeah, I think that looks good. But I want it to cover that little layer. So there you go. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So I was a little worried about building up the fire in there, but we're good. And I'm just literally tucking it back. I only put a little bit of glue on the bottom. I want, as you can see, I want some of that layering, you know, I don't want it to be glued flat. I want it to have that texture of the up and down and the forward and backward aspect of it. Yeah. Cool. That was quick. You know what's interesting is I hadn't planned on using that ribbon, but I did use this cherry cobbler paper. So now it actually looks like it's a bookshelf around. It's pretty, it's amazing how the right things happen at the right time, even when you're not expecting it. I'm gonna do the wreath first, then I'll do Chip, because he has the most rearranging. So I'm just gonna pop this through. You don't want to bend. You don't want to bend your pen. You know, it's going through a couple layers of cardstock. Okay, cool. So that looks centered. No, it's off center. So I'll move it over just a tiny bit. Okay, now it's centered. Okay, now it's centered. Okay. So I forgot to put my 2 pieces of 6x6. This is just 6x6 cardstock. It's just to make the back of your frame look a little prettier. Oh, I think that's a little, okay. And we're just popping that through, and I think that should hold it. And then we're gonna clamp, there's enough for it to grip to on the back. I think we're okay. I forgot to take the little glue pieces off. Well, I'm kind of afraid to take those glue pieces off. I don't wanna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take these off, because you know what? If someone wants to remove the pin, there we go. You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just put, just like I did with Chip, I'm just gonna put a couple pieces, a couple layers, just 1, maybe 2 layers of this little cardstock. I think just 1 layer, because this doesn't have as high a depth. And we're just, it's just to keep it from, to keep it 3-dimensional. Oops, I've got like bits of cardstock and cardboard everywhere. Okay, we're gonna put this back through the hole. All right, yeah. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put a glue dot probably in the bottom of this to hold the wreath in the frame. I just wanted to make sure everything was centered. And then we're gonna put Chip over here on the side. So let's get our glue dot and let's center that wreath. It's just gonna go right here on the ribbon, and it'll stay. Just enough to center that wreath. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little piece just hidden down behind here so that it looks like it is hanging from the bookcase, and I'll cut that in a second. All right, let's get our Chip. And we want him to be, we want the stocking. I think maybe I didn't need all this, because we want the stocking to be hanging off the mantle, not above the mantle. So I'm gonna move it over here so it's not covering the hole. And I'm just gonna poke it through. Now remember, don't bend your pen, just be careful. I think I went through one of the little holes of the fireplace. Come on. Just don't poke your fingers, just be careful. It won't go in any further because of how far up it is on the mantle. So this one will not have a little backing there. As I've used in my other videos, this little frame came from the Dollar Tree, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my pieces of glass out, because we can't use the glass. It's too thick for the project. And we'll pop it in the frame. What I often do when I'm popping these in the frame though, I'm actually putting a little glue dot in the corner, just right on the corner, because it's archival safe, one, It's also not so damaging that it will ruin your little frame. It won't ruin your piece of art. So if you wanted a different frame, you could get another frame without damaging it. You know, like at Ross, sometimes you'll get a piece of art and you think, oh, I'll just put it in a new frame, but they've got it super glued like to the frame, and I didn't want that. So I wanna, you know, you think, oh, it's just a frame, I'll just take the back off to, you know, and then you go to do that, or at least I have. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll put this. I'm really happy how this turned out. Now, again, the white is to just give a clean backing. Let's get this nice and straight. Oh, this looks adorable. Oh my word. This looks darling. Honestly. I think I got some glue on it. Oh my gosh, this looks so darling. I'm thinking I'm gonna sell it in my Whatnot shop, but I'm tempted to keep it, to be honest. It's so cute. I will debate it. Okay. All right. But I don't think I'm gonna, I forgot I was gonna do that. So, but see, look, I can easily remove my piece without it totally damaging everything. But it's so it holds it straight in the frame. You know what I mean? It's just it's a small. Okay, let's get this cut down. And we'll tuck it right in there. Yep, that works. Okay. And a handy glue dot again, just so I don't have to mess with more white glue. All right. Let's tuck that right behind. But it looks like a hanger, you know, like the hanger you put on your wreath on the door. That's what it looks like when it's way back here. I was thinking it was going to look funny, but it doesn't. And this piece of gold, again, is just a scrap from, and that is centered. Perfect. So now we're going to put it back on our frame. Make sure it's straight. Make sure the glue dots are aligning right. That one is misbehaving. Oh, it's so darling. Oh, it is just darling. Oh, it's so cute. And the good thing about these glue dots is that it holds it in place, you know, so that it doesn't slide, because it is just paper in here. And again, it's a Dollar Tree frame. I was considering putting one of these stars up here that were cut out from another page, but we're gonna go ahead and put those away because I think that this is the best option. And yeah, this is the best one. There were all these die cut pieces, you know, from that paper. There's a paper I used the other day, and so, but that works just fine. It looks like it's a little hanger up on the edge of the, and look, this just came from a scrap, you know what I mean? This came from a scrap of, I cut out the filigree, and then I just used the perfectly, this was even with the wall. I mean, it was even with the paper. And so I just saved it. So I save a lot of my foil scraps. I don't save paper that way, but the foil I do, because of the fact that the foil is so expensive and a tiny bit of it can, you know, elevate. So you see, I was going to add like a picture frame of Belle somewhere, you know what I mean? But that's like gilding the lily, as my grandmother would say. Look how darling. It's just so pretty. I mean, I just love it. And so, yeah, I got a little bit of something on. Oh, I wanted a glue dot for the, to hold chip in place. And look, it's almost like he's looking up at the, it's almost like he's looking up at the wreath, which I think is kind of cute. Let me put this underneath. There we go. Good. Okay. All right. And you know, isn't it amazing how something that was in, you know, like an error, which was the bookshelves and everything, turned out so cool. The only other thing is adding that I wanted to add, you know, let me get a scrap. I was considering, remember how I was considering coloring the bookshelves? I would have colored them and they would have wound up this color here, you know, and, you know, coloring all the behind, but honestly, that's a lot and I'm afraid I would mess it up. So I'm leaving it just as is, maybe with a pencil. Okay, so this is called Wink of Stella and it's basically a glitter pen. I think this one might be new. Yeah, this one's new. Hold on. This is my new one. So you shake it quite a bit. And I mean, even though the brick, you know what I mean? Like, and so it's bending just a little bit, but okay. Oh my gosh, it's so darling. I wish my grandmother were here. She would have loved this. Okay, yeah, okay. Whoa, okay. So when you do the Wink of Stella, you have to be careful when you're first using it. Gosh, it's like leaking. You have to be careful because what's going to happen is it's going to put out a lot of glitter in your first use of it. So just be gentle and careful. So I don't want to get it on the black. I just want to get it on the flames. I don't normally feel like an attachment to keep all my crafts, but I do with this one for some reason. I think it just, maybe it was the amount of work, maybe it was, and who knows, maybe in another year or two I'll think, oh, I want to sell it, it's okay. But it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool craft. So this Wink of Stella just adds this tiny bit of glitter, glitter layer. And the first time you use it, that's why I made sure to put it on the scrap piece of paper first, because the first time you go to use it, even like if it's been sitting for a few days or, you know, whatever, it sometimes will push out a blob of glitter and it'll make it look, you know, weird. Okay, like there's a little bit of a blob right there, which I didn't see before. Oh my gosh, so pretty. So as that dries, you can see there's a little bit of shimmer to the fire. Man, this is so cool. Oh, and for the back, I forgot to tell you guys. So for the back, I go ahead and I take my, I'm gonna take, because this one was a black, the chip had the black one and the wreath one is holding. So again, a handy dandy glue dot to hold everything down. So I'm going to put a glue dot on the edge of the pin just to keep it safe, you know, and so that the backing doesn't come off. So this one does have a little bit of grip, so it will easily hold there. The stitch one, it's like hit or miss. It's a little, I'll put the glue dot on there, but it doesn't totally, the stitch or the chip one is barely coming out. So this is just kind of to hold this on. And so, yeah, it's just that one's pretty safe. It was just, you know, for safety, you want to make sure you have everything covered from the back. Man, that was a long project, but it sure did turn out cool. Just in times for Christmas. So I'm going to edit this and put this out hopefully tonight. Hopefully I can edit it enough to get it on YouTube for you guys tonight. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Check out my Whatnot shop. I don't know if I'll have this one for sale or not. It's a maybe. This is a maybe for sale, but I have others for sale. I have other types of pin crafts for sale for some different types of pins, not Christmas related. So be sure to check out my Whatnot. On Friday, I'm going to have a show. I appreciate you. Thanks so much for tuning in. And I hope you have a very Merry Christmas.